complications with the operator here today.
Yes.
You don't call this unusual.
We've already shaved another 10 minutes to
I know.
the meeting already. So much for the record.
Aida said we'll be done by 7:30.
Yeah, but I
Even when
didn't.
you tell me to
Yeah.
start, it's starting.
She
All
didn't
right, we're
argue
live.
with me.
All right.
The screen isn't complete, however.
It's not, I don't
It's,
know.
you know what, it's good enough.
Okay.
Can you
know?
click on your
Good
end?
is not the enemy of the best.
Yeah, is that full
Oh,
screen
yeah, it's
on
a
yours?
full-
It's on full screen, but I have this thing called Chromium stuck on my laptop that my 10-year or 13-year-old put on there that I don't know how to get off of there.
Oh,
That's it, I can't close it.
okay.
All right.
Well, we'll have to just
So
remember to
this is
scroll.
as big as it gets.
Okay. Good evening. This is the July 12th, 2018 Yellow Springs Board of Education meeting. We're starting 10 minutes late because we've been having some technical equipment problems, so we're sorry about the delay, but here we are, ready to go. And you'll see that things are not being projected quite as large as they typically are, but we have a short meeting here and we hope it won't be too bothersome. All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Aida?
Here.
Sean?
Here.
Sylvia is absent this evening. Steve?
Here.
And Steve.
Here.
All right, approval of the minutes of the June 14, 2018 regular meeting and the June 19 special meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any issues or questions with those minutes? No? All right, roll call.
Sean?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Steve?
Yep.
Aida?
Yes. All right, just to acknowledge all the people present tonight and ask that before you leave, if you'll just sign in so that we know who's been here, that would be great. Moving on to communications and presentations. There are no communications to report. Again, we'll recognize the members of the audience. And we're going to move right into schools in action. And I thought Jack was going to be here.
I did too.
Okay. But anyway, so I will introduce a new staff member, Courtney O'Connor.
Hi.
Hi. Would you like to get up and speak and let us know what Jack would have typically, or Mario would have typically introduced you? So
Yeah, I
if you would
spoke
just step up, yeah, just so that people can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Like she said, I'm Courtney O'Connor. I'm the new staff member at Yellow Springs Middle School. Hilton Head is where I came from, so I came all the way from Hilton Head Island to Yellow Springs. So I'm really excited and honored to work with this school district and to work with this community. As a young teacher, I think I can really grow here. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
What are
Came
you
here for the
teaching?
great beaches.
Yeah, right. Teaching in grades.
What are you teaching?
Social studies.
Great.
Oh.
Yeah, 7th and 8th grade.
Okay. So you're doing Cameron McCoy's?
Yes, I'm filling his big shoes.
Right, right.
Yes. Yes, you are. Well, great, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
and welcome to Ohio and nice to have you.
I'm from here,
Okay.
so I'm coming home.
Okay, great.
Nice.
Can I just also, I was talking to my son about something I'm going to do with a class of mine this fall, and he said, Dad, that sounds like a really great idea. That sounds like a Cameron McCoy idea. Well, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So, on that note, someday somebody will say, that sounds like a Courtney O'Connor.
We can only hope.
All right, moving into the treasurer's report, financial report, June 30th.
Well, we should have let her know she doesn't have this.
Oh, yeah, you
Oh.
have to stay. I don't want to.
Okay. It's the star of the show.
Yes, take it away.
And I already told Aida I'm gonna give the shortest report ever. I close out the fiscal year, but I really don't want to go over a lot of things in detail because I want Mario to be here. So I'm going to do it in August, but I know we'll probably have a lot of other things in August, and I talk fast and I can go over it very quickly. Plus, what I will do is over the next week work on getting all of that year-end reporting done, and then I'll post it to the drive for the August meeting, and then you can see it ahead of time, because I always like to do that report that shows in detail what we spent per the items of the 5-year forecast, and show you, what we've spent on utilities and excess cost and salaries and benefits and all that kind of stuff. And I'll do that regular report and any other graphs and stuff that I do. And all I wanted to talk about today was it was this is the longest it's ever taken me to close out the books. It was just, we just had a lot going on this year, and a lot of things that I went in and I'm like, oh, that got charged to the wrong fund and that got charged to the wrong, and I had so much cleaning up and fixing to do, and then some things like just some grants ended up being in the red that I didn't anticipate they were going to be in the red, so I had to do more cleanup and transfers and advances that I've ever had to do, and that's just because I've expressed to you that, you know, these grants are overwhelming, even when they're the little teeny tiny ones. Thank goodness, all of the YSCF grants and the YSEE and the little Charlotte Drakes that we get, those are all kept track of by the building secretaries. So that's at least something that I don't have to mess with. They keep them in spreadsheets, and then at the end of the year, if we have unspent money, they tell me what amount of money to send back to them. So by June 30th, I send back any money we haven't spent, because they're supposed to be spent for appropriate purposes. The Charlotte Drakes are usually for senior projects and have to be, you know, they're tied to a student, tied to a specific project. So if we don't use it, we don't use it, and I send it back. So probably if there's anything I really wanted to go over with you, I just want to briefly go over what I had to do transfers and advances to, because that is on the agenda for your approval. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the athletic fund and the lunchroom fund. Let me start with, I put in a little bit of detail in my financial report that we had 3 grants that were in the red. One of them was our Title 4A, and that comes from the federal government. And the reason that one was in the red is because that's a grant that's supposed to be spent by June 30th. We were using that to pay for some of the Title I that is no longer covered by Title I anymore. So when we got to the end of the year, I saw all these expenses that have happened out of the general fund that we could have used those Title 4A funds for. So I would rather do that. So I charged off the rest of the Title 4A funds, but I did that like on June 30th, so I couldn't request the money from the federal government and get it in time to reimburse us. So that one I had to advance money to. We had this grant that we've been doing with Clark State. Do you know what? I don't even know what ODHE stands for. It's called ODHE/STEM grant, and right now it's the
Ohio Department of
something.
Higher Education.
Higher education.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is that Clark State grant. It has been paying for, it paid for the van that we got. We used that one time. Lori Sparrownap took Power of the Pen Kids. She drove. She got her license to drive that van. So we have used it. I don't think that it's been used since then, but I'm sure it's going to have its uses. It also paid for some training the kids have been doing. It's TIE. It's all part of that, making things to make the food trikes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's all still going on. It's just all happening a lot later than what we thought it was going to, because we thought we could just bus the kids down there, and that's just impossible with the number of buses that we have. So we had to get the van, couldn't really start that. I think they had parents taking them. I'm not even sure how the kids were getting down there to start all this, but we had to pay for that, and we paid for a couple other things. Well, what happened in the end is that one of the girls in my office did the invoice and missed some expenses, so we had to, $750 was outstanding. So I just let that fund borrow it, and I'm going to pay it back to the general fund when I bill Clark State for it. We have an Alpha grant this year. We've had that grant several years in a row, but every year it's different. And this year it was just, it's just very confusing what we were supposed to buy out of it, how I was supposed to bill the school district that gets the grant for us on our behalf. And needless to say, it sat to the end of the year, and I didn't have time to turn it around and get that money back, because I'm not even entirely sure what I'm billing for. I want to make sure that we have spent all of the money out of that grant that we were supposed to, and some of it didn't come out of the general fund or another fund, so I just want to check that before I do any type of quick invoicing. The lunchroom ended up being an interesting project. Since last year we broke even, I don't know what we will qualify for this year, losing over $10,000, how much Sodexo is going to give us back in management fees, because they've really tried to keep their expenses level. And what happened is, and I'll show you the report, is that we've had We just were lower on revenues this year. We didn't sell as many type A lunches as we did the prior year. That also lowers the federal reimbursement that we get. We did not see any state reimbursement. So that one, what I did is I advanced $5,000 hoping we'll get $5,000 back from Sodexo. I transferred $5,266. If we get more or less, I will have to adjust those. But I've already let Sodexo know that we were like a lot farther in the red than I thought we were going to be, which is probably pretty disappointing to them. So she asked for all the year-end financial reports, and she's going to work on the other end. This is Cindy, who's our manager that works at Middletown. She's going to look at our books and work with her manager to see what our guarantee could be for this year. So hopefully we'll get something. I don't want us to lose $10,000 and then not get anything in return, and it's going to be so hard for you to see. But if you look that up at home, I have 11 years of history there, all of our revenues broken down by what we're getting for breakfast, our type A lunches, our a la cartes, adult vending. We used to have a lot more in vending. I'm going to have to ask her about that too, because Sodexo was providing all of our vending in our pop machines and stuff in the buildings. And I don't know if they have shut them off or why we're not getting those profits anymore, because they don't seem to be showing here. Some of it is also how the monies get rang into the computer system, so they might have gotten booked under something else instead of vending. I'm not really sure. So that I'm going to have to check on. No state subsidy this year. Like last year we got $134,000 in federal subsidy. This year we got $127,000. So when you're losing $7,000 on $240,000, well, even less than that, really. That's just a lot of money. So we invoice the Greene County Learning Center for the lunches that we provide them. It's just for basically our cost of the labor and the food and stuff that we are using to feed them. So that's what the $7,000 is for them. If we used to provide some catering to Xenia and to some other things, so we provide some in-house catering. That's what some of that money is as well. So I ended up advancing $10,266, so I will update you in August on where we're at with that break-even guarantee. But if you want to look at that, you can see kind of across the board where we've been. I added a couple more lines that you absolutely can't see. I didn't even bring my glasses and I can't see them either. But right under the revenues, I put in the percentage change from year to year, so you can see how we've kind of gone up and down in revenues. And I did the same thing for expenditures, and you can see if you look on your own, that we have not had large increases in expenditures. They've really tried to keep our costs down as much as possible. So it's not the expense part this past year, it's more the revenue part. For the athletics, wow, by the time we paid all the bills, which usually I can close out a lot of open purchase orders and then we have more money left than I thought we were going to. Well, we spent everything. The athletics, I ended up transferring $15,096, and before that has a big sticker shock, please remember that 10 years ago you were transferring at least $12,000 a year for the most part. Sometimes it was 6 if you seemed to be having a good year, and it was 12. So that's not atypical. But I did I did cook up a report on that today. It's going to be just like that. It's going to be so hard for you to see, but if it's something that you want to look at another time, and I will also review in front of Mario. I did a history with that, but the problem with athletics is you can't, I obviously can't multitask like Mario. I can't look at it on the screen and do it here too. Okay. If you, one second, here.
Plus the,
Okay, and then I put a couple different, it's kind of hard to see, but that is, I put it on, this is a portrait instead of landscape, and I kind of just pasted in some pictures so that you could see it a little bit better. But for 2003-4 is the farthest I could really go back and get records, because I've been doing this spreadsheet for years, but this is I'm just showing you basically you know, the history that I've had ongoing. But 2003 through 4 through 2009, we had football. So you'll see increased admissions, you'll see higher expenses, and then you'll see that down at the very bottom, I do what the gain or loss was without the money that we transfer in and out. It's just what the true revenues and true expenses are. So that's down here at the bottom. And you can see, even, you know, 13 years ago, we were losing money.
That's
And-
a 17, under 2004, that's a loss of 17,114.
Yes, in 04, 05, a loss
Yeah.
of 17,114. Your revenues decreased, but also your expenditures went down. So there's always different things that can happen. So, I mean, you've lost 22, 17, 95, 13, all the way across. And then in 2009-10, the 1 year you made money, that's when we got rid of football. So if you go up to the more current years, it's kind of the same thing. You've lost 35, 45, 82, 72, 89, 76, but then in the past couple years, we've been losing more money. And that's where it gets hard to figure out, because if you look here, you've had increases in admissions, you just haven't had, for a couple years we did concessions, well that all went back to the class of, so they can make money for their accounts. And the athletics and the class ofs have agreed, the class advisors have agreed to do that. I think that was with the idea that we'd be getting a lot more money from a booster club, which Nate they have purchased things for us. Nate's still trying to get that up and going. But, you know, we've had years where we've had big donations, we've had 3,000, 5,000, haven't had a lot of big donations. Sales, as if they do any kind of fundraising, we haven't done any sales. So you can see kind of where we're lacking in revenues, which would be basically more fundraising, or increasing gate admissions, something. But also you can see that we've increased in expenses. So, you know, we went from, you know, 32, 34, 36 to 43, 43. And, I mean, Nate does try to keep within his budget. We talk about his books throughout the year. It's just their needs. We've been trying to get on a uniform replacement cycle. If we need any type of equipment, I try to take it out of the permanent improvement fund and not take it out of the athletic fund. So when you're looking at expenses, if I were to break those down, the page would be this long, because it's all different kinds of expenses for all of the different sports and different needs and things like that. And I know it's been brought up, we have had the addition of bowling, which is not a big revenue intake, but we have to rent the bowling lanes, we have to rent a swimming pool, we have to rent tennis courts. These are your low admission sports that you don't make a lot of money off of. So it's kind of like we're agreeing as a board to say we don't mind putting general fund money towards these programs, but that's something also you need to address every year. Do you want to keep that bowling program? What are the numbers? And is it something that you want to keep paying those fees for? So like I said, I went probably into more detail than I wanted to, because I'd rather talk about this in front of Mario, but that's just kind of where we're at. It's in here for your perusal if you want to look up close and maybe bring some questions.
Yep.
I did a graph. This is all the way, hold on one second, I'll get there. This is all of them beside each other, which is small, you need your glasses, but if you look at it or you want me to print it for you, at least you can look at every line item next to each other. I could even probably, if I have time, maybe break out a few years of individual sports and what they cost. That way we can do a little bit more critical conversation. Because that might be, when we're talking about setting aside money from the general fund, that might be something where we say, you know, kids are really getting a lot out of this new bowling program and we want to keep it. And we'd like to hire another coach and we'd like to do this and that, and say we're willing to put this amount of money towards that program. So it's just something to talk about in the future. But I also put together just a graph to kind of show these bars are your expenses. This is where your revenue's always been. You know, it's not like we've had a humongous change. It's not like a normal graph where, you know, might be the revenues might be going like this, and you're just deficit spending more and more every year. It's kind of on an even keel. These red bars are just the amount of money that we stuck in there with transfers to keep the athletic fund afloat. So that's where we're at with the athletic fund.
And the expenses, they do not include the athletic director
No.
or any of the stipends?
No,
None of
no
those.
supplementals, no
Right,
salary and
those-
benefits, those are general fund
Those are
expenditures.
just direct.
This is all just the actual cost of the sport, the supplies, the uniforms, the fees that go with it, all of the refs and umps and all of that too, so.
Right, if you added up all the athletic supplementals and
Mhm.
AD, you're probably looking at another $100,000 or something. To
At
support.
least, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Our supplementals, no, I have to separate athletics by itself. I mean, I know right off the top of my head, our supplementals in total are at least like 150,000, but that includes the other
Everything, yeah,
supplementals
yeah.
that we have too, the academic ones, so, I'm not sure about that, but, that's very easy to get. But there's also like, I mean, people don't know these things or think of these things, that we pay our officials very little money to drive 40 minutes to come for $50 or even lower than that. I mean, so it's hard, they're having a terrible time finding officials, so they're having to increase those rates just to get them to come because they don't get mileage.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things that go into athletics, and you know, Nate's been here several years now and probably could come make a pretty decent report on what goes on and what goes in and out on that. So that would be something to talk about in the future. I'm going to present on the budget next month. The only other thing I wanted to touch on, well, I'll touch on it in the agenda. Anita and I already talked about it when we were going to talk about the possible public records clerk position. So I'll just wait. Okay, with you?
Sure. Unless you want to do it.
I'll do it there.
Okay.
That way it makes more sense when we're talking about it.
Yeah. Okay, so we are moving into the financial portion of the agenda here, the consent calendar, and we are looking at 3.2 through 3.4, right?
Yep.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All right. You want to, anything you want to talk about here, Dawn? You talked about the first part?
Yes, I already went through all of the transfers and advances that actually occurred. The auditors, the state auditors expect you to know that ahead of time, and I won't, and I'll get written up for it in the audit report, but there's nothing you can do. You don't know, unless you cut your books off early, you don't know what these exact numbers are gonna be. So that's why in June I have you approve, okay, it's gonna be around this amount of money, and then we put the actual figures in July when I figure out what they are. The appropriations and certificate, that just got accidentally left off the June agenda. For the first 3 months of the next fiscal year, you're supposed to put on a temporary appropriation measure that basically says you can put a budget back on the books. And so we just approved that I'm going to do like just basically a fake appropriation until I bring it to you in September and we have a real budget for the year. So that's why that's on there. Oh, and the permanent improvement levy. I didn't know that was under me. Resolution to proceed. The county auditor provided his certificate. It basically just says almost what the ballot language says, that we are looking at a levy of 1.2 mils. That is not what the levy will renew at. That is the original voted millage, but it will renew lower than that. We just don't know that information yet. He has to say it's at 1.2 mils. Our valuation right now is $139,921,700, and he will assess a tax that brings in around $138,000, and that's all in the resolution. And as soon as this is approved, then I will take this information to the Board of Elections, and they'll put it on for the November ballot. So it's just the last step. And it's just renewing what we already have, and if we have a higher valuation, which we do have a little bit of a higher valuation, it should make that rate go down. Right now, it's at, I want to say like 1.05 or something close to that, so it could be a little bit lower than that.
Okay, anybody have any questions for me? Okay, Oh, roll call.
I am so sorry. Who motioned and seconded?
Sean and Steve.
Okay, Steve Con,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Aida,
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
All right. Okay, well, obviously our superintendent isn't here. He's in Germany on a global leadership opportunity. Our other administrators are on their leave for the month of July, so we are moving now into the administrative portion of the consent calendar, 4.1 through 4.3. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Okay, we've had some second readings, and then you want to say a little bit about those machines, Don?
No.
What is a CNC machine? I confess,
This
I
is,
tried looking it up, and it just wasn't popping up in my.
this was a gift, these machines were gifted to us about, I don't know now, a year?
It is,
Has it been 2 years?
well, I guess it was last year because the gentleman is Steve Weary and he said that he would house them. Maybe I this is you too. Oh my gosh, I don't even know.
It was a while ago.
He would supply a storage space for them until we could get our makerspace running and use them, but what we found is that they're massively huge, they're too big. You'd have to have a big building, a special kind of air venting, build a concrete pad, we can do the same thing with smaller. I cannot remember what CNC stands for, but CNC lathe, it's a
Okay.
blade.
Okay.
And I
Got
think the kids work like on I want to say a CAD machine, but I'm so the wrong person you're asking. They work on a machine where they can build stuff electronically, and then by the time they get done, it can be cut and molded and all this other stuff on the machine. So it's just all part of that makerspace. So what we are looking at doing is he is willing, we have to, because we are a public school district, and even though they were donated to us, if they have a value of over $10,000, we have to auction them off. So Don Boyer has been working with an attorney on how we run this auction, to auction the machines off. The buyer will have to either pick them up, because I think they're in Florida.
Oh,
It's just been quite an undertaking, but Dawn is the one who's really been working on it and getting everything. She got the information for the resolution, and we will at some point have a public auction and try to sell them at what their value would be, which could bring us like around $40,000, and we are allowed to use that as long as we are putting it back into some sort of permanent improvement type thing or something for the makerspace, which the original intent of these was. So that's what we plan to do, is buy either a smaller one or something that can go in the makerspace. So I don't know when the
Wow.
auction's gonna happen, I don't know where it's gonna happen. We'll have to advertise it and do all that kind of stuff,
Learn
so.
something new every board meeting, don't you? Yes, you just do. All right.
Those gifts that keep on giving.
That's right.
Okay, so that's what that is. 4.3, this is the public records clerk.
Okay, so that's me again. I don't ever wanna run a show again.
You're doing great. It's
I
fantastic.
can't even like say we'll have 20 calamity days next year. I don't have any gifts to give, I got nothing. Where is that at? Okay, public records.
4.3.
Okay, let me find what I did before.
We did talk about
This is what I provided back in May out of my own curiosity, but I did not provide it publicly because we really were not ready to discuss it, but I quite honestly did it out of my own frustration. And I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but we've spent a lot of time and a lot of money on this, and I felt like it's my duty as the treasurer to let you know how much these things cost, because it is a mandate. When someone makes a public records request and it is within the confines of what you need to ask for when asking for a public request, we have to provide that within a timely fashion. That is all our poor Stephanie did. Her first month on the job, Susan retired. We don't have her anymore. They're still coming in. We're still working on them. They're backlogged right now because Stephanie is trying to work on our educational management information systems for students, because there are things that are due next week, that start next week, and reporting, and she doesn't know what she's doing. She's gonna have to go to multiple trainings over the next month to get everything started for the school year. We cannot use Susan at all until September 1st because of retirement rules. So Susan can't even help her. So she's kind of out on her own. So what I had put together basically is that the only thing that we can charge for in a public records request is if someone wants copies, and we charge 5 cents a copy. But everybody learned, oh, I can just have them scan them and email them. So if we do not have to reproduce a document, like recreate something, then they can ask for anything that is already done and make us scan it in and send it to them. So when they're asking for, a lot of them are personnel files, and we have to go through, and there's so much private information on there that we can't share, that it needs redacted. What we had talked about is one of the frustrations that I had is they've been redacting with a Sharpie, and you can use an upgraded Adobe program, and then, do blocks and redact certain things in, multiple times. We are in the process of ordering that just because of this. It kind of put pressure on us. Board office has been wanting that upgraded Adobe anyway, but now we're going to get it for sure because it's just taking up way too much time. So we're looking at that. So all I put on here was the labor that we've done so far, but this was as of May 9th, and there's been more done since then. So I'll do another update probably in a month or two because they keep coming in. So Susan and Stephanie, because they worked on a lot of this together, I just took what their salary was per day, what their benefits were per day, what they cost per day, what they cost an hour, and came up with an average hourly rate. And then from day one, I asked them to please keep a record of how much time they're spending on this, because we were slammed and they were spending so much time on it. I said, we need to keep track of this. This is just, I just feel like we need to know how much time we spent on this, because I don't remember anybody coming in during this whole process over the past few months and asking for a paper copy of something and paying us money. Because I haven't deposited that, and I haven't deposited any money. So all of it's been electronic, so all of it has basically been gratuitous. So they were approximating 130 hours through May 9th. That's about 16 full work days when Stephanie is supposed to be training with Susan while she had her. So that was about over $5,000 that we could not charge for any type of time that we've spent on this. If we do still have to make copies because the information is redacted, and you have to make a copy of it so you really, really can't see it, and then it's scanned in. So we estimate we've done at least $3,000 or 3,000 copies, and it's probably a lot more than that. So I mean, $300 may sound piddly, but when we'll get probably an overage on our copier, we'll get charged for that at the end of our contract year for our copier, and it's wear and tear on the copier, and it has more than a $300 effect. The times that we've called the attorney that I could figure out on the bills, an attorney costs an average. There's different rates for what the different type of attorney you're talking to, and maybe their years of experience. I don't really know. It's just on the bill as is. But attorney hourly rate's $275. The hours that we've talked to attorneys, we were approximating to be about 16. And that's just making sure that we are pulling the right information, redacting the right information, providing the right information. One of the benefits is sometimes the requests are too broad, so we're allowed to say, can you please narrow down your request so we're not spending so much time going through these. So it's worthwhile to talk to them and help save time in our office. That's in the end saving some money. We have had Mabecca be the ones who are searching our emails when people make email requests. They're not charging us any extra for that right now, but I mean, it's been causing them a lot of work, so they may at some point say, hey, we can't just do this anymore without charging a fee for that. So it's been almost $10,000 for a 5-week period. Now, after the election and May board meeting, things slowed down some, but we still have multiple requests out there that have not been fulfilled, and requests that have been fulfilled. And so when I put in here revenue received from charges to requesters, it's been $0 because nobody's requested any on paper, and they've all just wanted it electronically, so we've just done this. At that time, on May 9th, we had 6 personnel files and email searches that we were estimating would take at least 5 more days to gather, and that was with Susan and Stephanie working on it together. But then finally just got to the point and said, I can't do it anymore. I train you. We need to go to Mavecca together. So they put it on hold, and so finally Stephanie is just like, I'm getting worried about not doing my job, and it's my very important job to do. And what can we do about this? And so Mario had the idea of possibly just finding someone that we could train to know what to look for, what to redact, attend public records training. I don't even know what we're gonna find. You can't just have anyone do it because that's one of those things that you just can't mess up. It's very, very important that you provide the right information. So what we did was we just thought we're just gonna start with, okay, here's what we're looking for, and then see if anybody is even brave enough to do it. So this is just basically the creation of the position. I don't know if and when it will be posted. So this is just asking you to please at least allow us to try to do this, because Stephanie doesn't really have a slow time of the year, because we used to just do a major student count in October, and I don't know if you guys remember what was called Count Week.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we count students all year now. It's ongoing. So it's constantly changing, and there's constantly different situations, and we have to, now we can't just say, oh, I'll update that towards the end of the year, because it doesn't really matter now. Every time we get funding payment twice a month, it's based on what our student count most recently is. So it's a whole big on-time thing now. It's a big job, so this is just hard for her to do. And we've got, on top of this, we've got a whole new website that we're trying to work on, and just even getting that up and running just for our staff and kids, let alone what we can do for the public. Stephanie's been working on that with Donna. Donna, she's probably not even, she probably is out of work days, and she and I talked half the day today about things. She's still working hard and just trying to get everything done and up and running. Our tech guy, he can't really work on the emails and stuff because we're putting in a whole new Wi-Fi system. And then he's got to get, 200 or 300 laptops and computers and projectors up and running for the beginning of the school year. He's brand new. I mean, just nobody has time to do this.
All right, so this is about creating a position, and it's not quite defined yet, but
There was, I believe, Stephanie put a job description out
I think it's in
there.
But it has not been posted.
Yeah, there it is. Bring it up real fast, I mean, it's one of those things, I can't read that either, but she did create a job description in conjunction with Mario. There it is. It's at $15.64 an hour, and would be as needed, basically. So at least we can get some of these done, because, we've been told by our attorney, you can't put them off too long. The public has a right to that information, so you have to kind of prioritize it. And I'm sorry, you got the most passionate person about it to talk about it. I just feel, I understand the law in itself, but I'm sorry, public, I just think this is abuse of the rights that people have. Because I've just been through, in 20 years, I've been through a lot of absolutely not necessary public records requests that you never hear anything about ever again after you've spent 3 days working on it, and it's just not fair.
Well, and I'll only just say, fair or not, it's a useful reminder that these requests, well, we pay for them one way or another, are ultimately public money. So when the public makes these requests, which they're perfectly entitled to do, in fact, it's a drain on the public purse.
Right.
It's not that's, so it's a beautiful cycle that way.
Well, you probably, the 16 hours talking to attorneys, I assume that's not Susan. That's Mario or you
That
You're not.
has been mostly Susan and Stephanie.
Oh, has it been?
Yeah.
Okay.
They go lock themselves in the basement for peace and quiet and no interruption, and we'll see them 3 hours later. It's crazy.
And they're working with the attorney that knows all about this public records news so that they can,
Right.
No.
That is his area of expertise, so that's very helpful.
costly.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so we are looking at adopting the consent calendar here from 4.1 through 4.3. Roll call.
Steve McQueen,
Yes.
Aida,
Yes.
Sean,
yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Okay, moving into the personnel portion of the consent calendar, we are looking at 4.4. And that is just new changes in administrative personnel,
Our-
your
our new teacher.
contracts, new teacher, and so forth. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
I'm trying to see if there's anything. Questions on.
I guess we should announce, Jack is going to continue to be the interim principal, and Cameron's stepping into half-time interim assistant principal. That's why we have Courtney. Right. Yep. That's it, I think, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise it's all
Anything else?
pretty much the same stuff. Okay, roll call.
Aida,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Steve Connor,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. All right, moving into board communications. Any Green County Career Center report?
Well, so big doings over at GCCC. Last board meeting, we authorized the purchase of a piece of property for a future new facility. So this is the facility that will be funded should that levy that's on the ballot in November pass. It's a 1 mil levy approximately, maybe 1 minute tick. But I think I reported on that a month or two ago, that this is where the Career Center is headed. Its building is just a little younger than our high school building and is also not in good shape. So the board has decided to go ahead with a new facility, and the piece of property that we are completing or finishing the purchase of will be the site of that should that levy pass. So that's moving ahead on that, and that, as I said, that will be on the November ballot.
All right. And what happens to the original program?
Well, that's something we are going to have to look at. In fact, there are a couple, the Career Center owns a couple of pieces of property, one of which is associated with the vet program, and we don't, should all of these dominoes fall in the right way, we won't need all of this. And so what happens next will be an interesting problem.
Well, did you say where the property is, or you're not allowed to?
I'm going to refrain from saying that just
Just
because,
as a board member,
yes.
just remember, we have 3 buses.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're really fortunate to have them so close.
Right.
Because we fit it into our day.
Right.
That
Yeah.
could be a whole new bus.
It's going to be, right, that's right. But it won't be, assuming again that the dominoes all fall, we're still talking several years out.
Yeah.
Because there'll be bids and construction and all of this other sort of stuff. And this is driven by the Career Center's Take Flight initiative, which is about aerospace, aeronautics, avionics, and developing a program there for kids, of which there are none other in the country as far as we can tell, and the Dayton region is one of the largest aerospace aviation employment sites in the country. So this, again, assuming that this all goes the way we hope it goes, it's going to be really pretty exciting and give kids an amazing opportunity.
All right. So any other board member items?
For the Economic Sustainability Commission, the ECIC that they're talking about, They did say that to keep communication tighter, that they would like a board member. We're thinking about, they still haven't figured out who they want to be, if it even goes through. But if it does, that they kind of want representation from definitely the three parts, like trustee, school board, council. And so basically they were kind of saying be mindful as to who might fill such a position, if they end up doing that, they're not sure if they're going that route, because that would be different than what other places have done, which usually sticks more business, real team. So Yellow Springs is looking at it from a different perspective, so they were talking about having representation from the school board, so be mindful of it.
Thank you. You want to talk about our meeting with Michael Schulman?
Sure.
As part of all of this?
Seems like forever ago, when was that?
Yeah, it's just a couple of
Weeks
weeks ago.
ago, actually.
It does.
Yeah.
Like months ago.
I mean, we went to the Wednesday's session for just the schools. And did everyone get a chance to meet it?
Yeah.
I was at town.
Thursday.
So it was June 27th, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
I did the full Thursday.
Okay, you did
board.
Thursday? Yeah. Yeah, what a great experience to have the opportunity to share our thoughts, talk to him about the schools, situations that we're dealing with, the challenges, brainstorm all kinds of ideas, and just have what a dedicated 2-hour conversation. And there was only the 3 of us there, and we used all 120 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, Steve, I'm glad you weren't.
thank God I was there. A
Yeah.
little bit of disaster.
Thursdays was more spread out, so I got to hear how a lot of other groups were feeling, from chamber to credit unions. It was really interesting to hear all the different ideas coming from, and then still hearing what he had to suggest and how it would work if we were to work it out as a town. It was just, I wish I could have been able to involve that. I feel like I would have been able to, because that sounds like it was much more school related.
Right.
Probably could have
And
been
we,
more.
like, you know how they had these ideas that they had prioritized
Yeah,
already?
yeah.
We didn't spend a lot of time on those. We kind of went our own direction. And so I don't know, on Thursday, did they
No, yeah.
they say these are the things, this is the one big product?
Well, he sort of introduced them all and then let us prioritize accordingly. And so, and clearly it was still spread out, we could each vote, and basically everybody kind of liked all of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so we broke into different groups and sort of gave presentations about how we would do it, and all the groups were kind of separated. It was helpful, but it's like if I'd have gone to both, I probably would have been able to give more of a board interpretation, or at least for what was being. I could have known what he was thinking about it, whereas I couldn't tell, or he was thinking more general. I would have liked to have had a little more specific. It would have been nicer, but
Well, he
I'll
pulled
talk
that,
to you guys about it.
he pulled that stuff together really fast, because we met with him Wednesday, and he was always, he
He
was
was
already giving
on
all
it.
the synopsis of all of those groups by Thursday morning.
Right, and
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
it was nice
yeah.
to hear about all of it, and then trying to work that out together. It was interesting, yeah.
He's kind of he's been to Yellow Springs several times now, working on different projects, and he's getting very familiar with the community and people, I think, and it's been pretty exciting to see how he hauls the information over and puts it back out to the community.
Can I add a board member item? I think I've mentioned off and on that I have been engaged in a coming on 3-year fight with Wright State University to get them to pay their delinquent property taxes. The day before graduation, I spent half a day in a lawyer's office in Columbus being deposed as part of Wright State's appeal process since they lost their fight with the tax commissioner. I've just gotten notice that I will be summoned again to testify as Wright State's attorneys continue to kick and scream over the fact that they had lost this fight to get to pay their property taxes. So, yeah, I just,
Wow.
it's all in a day's work here at the school board. But Wright State really doesn't want to pay its property taxes, and they have spent far more now in attorney's fees. And they've wasted far more of my time than they owe in taxes. So if they had just paid up, done what they should have done, we'd all have gone home by now. So just a quick report on that.
Well, thanks, and thanks for your time and
Yeah,
energy
absolutely.
around that.
Well, now it's kind of fun.
No.
I'll turn it into a good story someday.
All right, we need to set up an executive session for when Mario gets back, so if we could do that, and this doesn't mean it's set in goal, because I don't know what his schedule is upon his return, but we do need to get things moving around some personnel issues, so I was hoping for either Monday the 30th or 31st.
Of July.
Yeah, so that's Monday or a Tuesday. Anybody have any preferences, or?
I think the Monday works best for
Both
me.
work, normal 7 PM timeframe, or?
Depends on what people's needs are.
Yeah, I think I can be, that.
I can do either or 7, yeah.
Okay,
As
well,
long as it's 7, if we do it
let's do
earlier.
7,
Oops.
because it works for everybody, nice.
My pen.
So the 30th?
Monday.
Monday looks like it works
Monday.
better.
When's Mario back?
He's back, I think, on the 28th. I mean, he's back by the 30th, I believe. So again, this is contingent on him
Right.
being here and checking it out with Sylvia as well.
Okay. So you'll confirm
Yep.
all of this? Good,
Yeah,
okay.
I just wanted to, since I had you all here, I think it was a good idea to see what works for you. Okay, any other board member items? First day of school is what, August
24th?
24th?
Just Friday?
That's happening fast.
Yeah, Friday the 24th. Yeah, I
Friday
have
the 24th?
It's on a Friday, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
we're
We
starting
started
on.
that last year.
Right, sure.
Okay.
Snowing in.
Slowly but surely
Yep.
get in and get going.
Right.
Okay, so I think we got motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you, son.
Sorry you had to
Appreciate it.
wait around. Thank you, Carol. We could have been, but really.
Yeah, that's right, we could have been under an hour were it not for the overhead projector and other things.